Hey everyone. So, another message today asking me about Ethereum. I'm the go to guy to ask about crypto in my community. And, well, not just my community, but the people that know me, that know I'm into it, they always come to me asking me about things that aren't Bitcoin. And I understand why. Every time I'm motivated to reapproach this video, um, because this isn't the first time I've done this, and I always feel like I've left something out or I've made a mistake or I could have done a better job. But bear in mind one fact I want to make clear is that there aren't very many people who make it their business to stand outside a casino all day and tell people, don't go in there, don't do it, you're going to lose money. Like, you might win, but you'll probably lose. And look at the building, it's lovely and opulent and fancy, and the money to make that building and maintain it and pay for everything comes from suckers like you. Don't do it. Because what's the point? People are going to do it, it's fun, they'll probably lose. Most of them know they're going to lose, but what's worse about shitcoins is that people actually think they're going to win. And that makes the whole thing a much more painful scam. And I mean, it exists in a macroeconomic environment where you're kind of pushed into investing in stuff that you don't really understand anyway, because dollars are crappy and government money is guaranteed to lose you money. So people are scrambling. They're looking for exits, but they don't realize exactly that that's what they're doing. Bitcoin is the only way that you're actually guaranteed something, and you have an actual escape route and something that isn't essentially a gamble. Bitcoin isn't a gamble anymore. It was early on, but it's not now, because it's managed to achieve certain characteristics as a network that make it something that is actually resilient and can promise you excuse me, out of breath. It actually promises the decentralization that it can offer you is real. It's practical. It's not something that exists because it has a blockchain, and hopefully that is enough to afford us resilience in the case of hostile, censorship attempts by authorities and whatever. Bitcoin is the only network that's tough and big enough to be able to withstand that, and it does that by maintaining a certain primitiveness with regard to what it can actually do as a feature set, because it can do the one thing that nothing else has been able to do, which is offer decentralized, open, completely censorship-resistant, unconfiscatable store of value that can't be debased and can't be changed by anyone. It offers that by being just that. And what it did is it used a system that's divided into two parts, which is, on the one part, well, the way I like to see it is with two legs. On the one leg, you have the blockchain and the miners, and they are the ones that all compete with one another to create an ever increasing proof of work requirement to appending the ledger or the blockchain that Bitcoin has. And the more people do that, the harder it does to do that maliciously. And the more people do it, the bigger the incentive for other people to do it. So it's a self-sustaining and building cycle where some element of the security of the network is protected. Then the other leg of the system, this is the part no one understands. Nodes. Nodes are what matter, and they are akin to, if Bitcoin is the English language, Bitcoin nodes are every human being on the planet that speaks English. And the reason that provides a level of defense for the nature of what English is because if you want to change a word in the English language, or change the meaning of a word that already exists, or add a word, you don't get to just say, no one gets to just say, this is the word, this is what it means. That's not how it works in English, because you have to find everyone that speaks it and force them to change the way they think and the way they see stuff. And that's just not a practical thing to be able to do. Now, if your language only had 3 people that speak it, that's different. If your language is an ancient language from thousands of years ago that exists only in a couple of books, and a few experts know about it, you and a couple of other experts can rewrite the definitions of some of those words, and you'll probably be able to get away with it. That's what the shitcoins are, because they have the one leg that Bitcoin has. They don't have it to the same extent, but they still have blockchains, and they still have miners, and they still even maybe have proof of work requirements. Even if they don't gain anything like the size of what Bitcoin has gained, they have that, but they don't have the other part of the system. And what this means is, When you produce new information, when you append Bitcoin's ledger, when you meet the proof of work requirement and you mine a block, and you get to define what happened in the last 10 minutes of Bitcoin's network's history, yes, you get to do that, but you need all of the nodes on the network, the hundreds of thousands of them, to say, we accept. And they will accept because they all play by a consistent set of rules that none of them can change without forking off and becoming their own network. If you have that mining structure and the blockchain structure, but you only have one node, that node becomes the ultimate arbiter of what happens on the network, and it doesn't matter that you have a blockchain. That's huge to understand because all of the other cryptos, they have the blockchain, they think they've copied Satoshi's original innovation, but they haven't because they don't have the other half of the story. And this is so poorly understood, and if I've managed to explain it to you in a way where a light bulb's gone off in your head already, then I've managed to do what most people haven't been able to do in 10 years in this space. And I'm hoping I've actually done it here because the nodes, remember the English language metaphor. The only reason someone can't come along and change the nature of English in a deliberate and coercive manner is because there are just too many people that speak the English language. So if you want to speak a bunch of gibberish and call it English, the problem is your message isn't going to get heard by anyone because no one has your version of English. They have the collective version. Now, of course, Bitcoin is mathematical and perfect. It's not... Everyone is identical when they're looking at the rules of the network. They're not roughly the same because English is a language and it's open to interpretation and we all speak roughly a similar version of it. But of course there's dialects and accents and, there's people speaking English that you could barely understand. Like if you're from California and you're trying to listen to someone from Glasgow, difficult to understand. But this doesn't happen in Bitcoin. You have Bitcoin, which is English, and all of the nodes are all the English speakers. And anyone that wants to come along and say, this is different to... what happens is you get ignored or you don't get understood, and all of your work, which would be your communication in the case of language, would fall on deaf ears. Now, what happens with Ethereum and all these other networks is because they don't have the nodes, because they don't have the speakers, what they have is, it's like they have all of the dictionaries that exist for the English language, and some of the institutions that get to write those dictionaries, like book publishers and something like that, but even then not to the same extent that English does. But essentially they just don't have anyone that actually talks the language and needs to interpret what's being communicated on the network because it's too difficult to do. That's the main point to realize. There's firstly no motivation to do it because the desire to have a decentralized open blockchain that runs an application that we all need on it, which is a perfect store of value and an uncensorable medium of exchange, and unconfiscatable to boot, that market has been filled by Bitcoin. And what happened as an offshoot of its success was this usage of one element of what Bitcoin does, which is the blockchain, and say that you can use this deliberately primitive... This is really quite a hard thing to describe, but what Bitcoin does, in essence, is it says, we're going to use the worst database. We're going to use the most inefficient, clunky database where all information has to be hashed together and it's slow to verify and everyone has to maintain a copy individually. It's completely the opposite of, when people only store part. I mean, it's going against the grain of computer science and data storage. It's saying everyone has to inefficiently store and verify an independent copy of this thing altogether. You walk away from all of the benefits of centralization, which is, I sent $100 to my mate using a bank. I don't have to keep a copy of all of the history of Canada or America's dollars and where they are and who's got what at any one time. I don't need to do that. That's all dealt with in a few centralized databases. And I just, open my banking app, send $100, boom, done. That's easy to do because it's a centralized system and it's based on authority. Bitcoin walks away from that and it has this awful, clunky, unwieldy blockchain, which is just so complicated and the worst possible database to use unless you keep the app that runs on top of it simple and primitive enough that enough people independently can store it and verify it because the resource requirements are so low that you can do it on a Raspberry Pi. That's amazing because what that means is it becomes decentralized. That's like saying, hey, I'm going to invent a new language and I'm going to make it so damn difficult that no one's going to speak that language. And that means I'm in control of that language forever because there are only going to be me and two other people that I can convince to learn it who actually speak it. And then me and those two other people can agree to change definitions whenever we want. Hey, we're in control of it. Authority. Back to the old system of banking. What Bitcoin does is it says we're going to invent a language that's so simple and so primitive, and we're deliberately walking away from all the complex grammar and stuff we could have. We are going to keep it simple enough that enough people can actually learn it and speak it, which means it spreads all around the world, and that means suddenly no one controls it anymore. That is the architecture of Bitcoin's network. And it's what affords it all of the. It's why you can have $1 million, buy Bitcoin with it, and know that no one's going to change the rules on you. No one's going to say you didn't really buy that $1 million, or oh, you bought $1 million worth of Bitcoin. It got you 10 Bitcoin, and there's 21 million Bitcoin in total. You bought 10 of them, so you own that percentage of the network. But hey, 3 guys are going to change the rules, and we're saying there aren't 21 million Bitcoin anymore. There's now 42 million Bitcoin. Oh, that's a shame, because now instead of owning whatever percentage I owned of the Bitcoin, the total Bitcoin in supply before, I now own half of it. That sucks. Like, I mean, you're not used to thinking of money in that term anyway, but you should try and adapt to it. When you own $100, you don't know how many dollars there are and what the percentage of total dollars that you hold is, but it's ostensibly a knowable thing. The reason Bitcoin is so awesome is because you can know what percentage of the total amount you actually own, and that can never be changed on you. That's why we say the price of Bitcoin is 1 Bitcoin, because there's no other reasonable way to measure it. You can measure it in terms of real estate or gold or something else that's actually fundamentally scarce, but dollars are not fundamentally scarce, so it's becoming increasingly meaningless to measure Bitcoin's value in terms of dollars. That's why they are, right at time of making this video, they're $47,000 each. Doesn't that seem just ridiculous to everyone? Like, at this point, Bitcoin's either worthless or it's priceless. Those are basically your two options. And I'd say I'd go for priceless every single time, with the small caveat that you need to live your life, you need to eat food, and you need to have shelter. So you are going to swap your Bitcoins for food and shelter and transport, and the fact that you're not going to live forever. You're going to spend stuff. Like, I'm not making a Keynesian argument that perfect money means you have no economy because no one ever wants to spend anything. That's not true either. But it's a fair system and it's a fair game. Now, back to the point at large. I hope I'm not going too fast, and feel free to watch this video on 0.75 speed if I'm rolling too fast here. But what we've got with the Ethereum network and every other crypto is they have that one leg, they have the blockchain, they have all that stuff, but what they pretend to do so cynically, and the way they take advantage of the gullibility and the naivety of people in the crypto space, is they pretend that a blockchain in and of itself is enough to give you a secure and immutable decentralized ecosystem, and it's not, especially when Bitcoin already exists, but doubly so the fact that Bitcoin has kept its application, because Bitcoin's a network, but the application that runs on top of the Bitcoin network, the currency, it's kept that deliberately primitive with deliberately seemingly crippling deficiencies in what it can actually achieve. We can only do about 7 transactions a second. That's the old stat. It's not really... That was an old critique. It's not really true anymore because transactions can actually be batched, millions of transactions inside them, and a transaction could be someone opening a channel on the Lightning Network, and then they can do billions of transactions inside the Lightning Network, and then do another transaction to close their channel on the Lightning Network, in which case each of these 5 or 6 or 7 transactions per second that Bitcoin is facilitating in its blockchain can actually be millions of transactions. You just can't see them. I mean, we're building Bitcoin in layers. We're not doing everything on the base chain, which is what the other cryptos are trying to do. And a lot of people will take advantage of that naivete by saying, Bitcoin is MySpace, Ethereum's Facebook, modern, but they're making you view it through the paradigm of websites when they should be making you view it through the paradigm of networks, which is much more accurate. The point is, if you were to come along and improve on the fundamental designs of the internet today, like the base protocols like TCP/IP, which have been around for decades, which we could improve on a lot, you're going to be speaking a different language to everyone else, and then no one's going to hear anything you say. That's the nature of the internet. We could make a better internet now, but it wouldn't have any of the content and it wouldn't have any of the network effect, which is why everything always ends up back to the actual internet and doesn't move on to independent networks. And everything that we do, all the complexity we have on the internet now is all built in upper layers. Nothing, all of the complex websites, everything like that, even video playing, it took so long to make it native to HTML, and HTML is not a base protocol of the internet. It's still one or two layers above what the base internet protocol is. So that's how Bitcoin's being built. It's taking time. We've got Lightning Network that sits on top of Bitcoin. All of the complexity is coming here, and everything that's built on top of Bitcoin will have all of the hard money characteristics and the solidity and the reliability that Bitcoin offers it. What happens when you try and bake these complicated, sophisticated features into base layer protocols using a blockchain is, and this was my original point about 6 or 7 minutes ago, when you say we're going to use a blockchain like Bitcoin does, but we're going to run loads of complicated fancy features on top of it. We're going to have some fun with it. We're going to do everything that Bitcoin can't do. We're going to be Turing complete. We are going to be feature rich. The way I like to look at this is, it's like if you went into a car dealership and there's the standard car with 4 wheels and a steering wheel and an engine and and a seat belt and 5 seats or something like that. And because you intuitively understand physics and driving and all that stuff, even if you can't explain it necessarily, you kind of know what will work and what won't. Like if the tires are facing that way instead of that way, you're like, how's that going to roll down the road? No one ever sells you on a car where they're like, check out this car. It's 90 times the size of a normal car, and it has 900 tires on it, all facing different directions. And it has a parachute that's made out of, something that can handle the weight of that. And if you drive off a cliff, it will save you. And it also has 19 televisions in it. And, and like, by the way, you don't look forward when you're driving the thing. You lie on your back like you're in a bed, and there's a TV screen showing you the road. And, you'd look at that and be like, this is just not going to work. It's not safe. Like, how much petrol does it use again? Oh, it costs $80 per mile in petrol. Like, you're going to look at this thing and be like, this is ridiculous and a joke. But in the Ethereum world and in the crypto world, because it's all technical and not something you can look at and intuit and look at, through, you understand physics, like, because you're not a baby, like you've understood how things move around the world, and you've got a basic understanding of like inertia and all these, Newton's third law and all that stuff. And you look at it and go, that's a joke. That's not a car. That's just, you've said, oh, tires are good. Let's have 400 of them. Oh, size is good. Let's make it 80 times bigger than a normal car. Like, all of the practicalities you can look at and go, what the hell are you talking about? Like, that's not going to fit on 3 lanes. I'm not going to be able to fit that down the road. Like, I can't drive this thing. Like, that's what all these cryptos are. They're completely unrealistic, but you can't intuitively look at them and know it because you might not know the technical elements of what actually makes them up. Bitcoin is the only thing that's been designed to say, oh, you want to drive 500 miles? Okay, we've built something that isn't going to fall apart on you 3 miles down the road. We've been realistic with what we can do. But there's no salesman for that. That's a very boring thing. That's your boring dad selling you, like, be sensible, be practical. Then everyone else wants to be a kid and go, we can do everything on a blockchain. Decentralize all the things. Let's do it. Like, it's a free world. It's a wild west. It's, an exit from the financial system, And so much of that is true, but so much of that is unrealistic as well. And you don't want to do this. You can't assess the stuff for yourself because it's, cynically, a lot of it has been actually designed in such a way as to make it more complicated to review this stuff as well. Like, Bitcoin has been written in such a way that as many people as possible are encouraged to read the source code and verify what it does. That's good. That's good for transparency. That's good for bugs, because the more eyes there are on the code, the more likely there are that someone can find the bugs. When it comes to the smart contracts running on Ethereum network and the things being done on there, it's just being done in a way that's so unrealistic that I have a hard time seeing it as anything more than just preying on the ignorance of people with their technological abilities, and or even more sadly is the fact that all of these shitcoins have marketing departments and they're all private companies masquerading as being decentralized. Bitcoin doesn't. So the fact that Bitcoin continues to dominate and be the sharp one crypto, or the hash one crypto, speaks volumes with the fact that even with marketing departments and millions of dollars, I'm disgusted by what I see. Like, because everyone thinks Bitcoin and Ethereum are kind of equivalent, and a lot of people think Ethereum is better and and has more features and is a newer version, whereas Bitcoin 2.0, and they don't understand the first thing about the fact that another analogy I like to use is that Bitcoin is like the sun of the solar system of crypto. It's the only thing that actually emits light and emits energy. All the others are like moons, and they look bright, but they're actually just reflecting the light of the sun, which is they are afforded the assumption of the characteristics of decentralization and censorship resistance. And, Ethereum was launched as unstoppable code. Like, hey, this is the problem, right? Like, Bitcoin says, we've got money, but if you move money and the bank doesn't say you're allowed to move money, then they will stop your money from moving. That's because of centralization. So let's decentralize money, and then that won't happen anymore. Yay, that worked. And Ethereum said, okay, what if we do that with computer code? Like, okay, I'm running a website. It's on a centralized server, ISPs. All these people, all these centralized entities are saying, no, bad website, we're going to get rid of it. Or, bad computer running software we don't like. Government shuts it down. FBI takes the servers away, whatever. Okay, what if we decentralize computing? What if we make a virtual cloud computer that anyone can use, and we'll call it Ethereum, and the code in it will be unstoppable? That was the original marketing pitch for Ethereum. Guess what? It's about 1 billion times more complex than doing what Bitcoin does, and as a result, no one can run nodes, which means unstoppable code becomes stoppable code. And what happened to the first bloody crowd-funded smart contract that was launched on the Ethereum network? It doesn't run anymore because they stopped that code because there was a bug in it. This code was called the DAO, the Decentralized Autonomous Organization. It broke all the world records for raising the most money ever in the shortest amount of time. I think, I can't remember the exact details of the world record they broke, but I think it broke $400 million in a couple of hours. That's how much money people threw at this thing. Critical bug found almost immediately. Hacker stole, I think, $130 million worth. And the Ethereum network went, stop. Vitalik, who's in charge of the Ethereum network, went, stop. They made a new network, called it Ethereum. They abandoned the old network. It's now called Ethereum Classic, which is where all the people with any integrity in that space went. By the way, that coin is kind of dead, which shows you that there was never any integrity in the project anyway. But Ethereum itself is a hard fork. Ethereum is what happens when you say unstoppable code. Sometimes we have to just stop it. Sorry, guys, because something happened that I didn't like. And I'm in charge, so we're stopping that. That's the same as when you make a transaction using your bank, and your bank says, we don't like that transaction, so actually we're not going to let you do that. And the reason we can do that is because your money is not under your control, it's under our control. And it's not really your money. You lent it to us, and it's yours, and we might give it back to you. And as long as the music keeps playing in our game of musical chairs, you will get your money back. But, if CRA or some governmental institution takes a dislike to you, we will freeze your money at their request. And, people have a fear of that, and they are the old gold bugs, and they're the people with gold buried in their backyard because no one can take it from them, and it's secret, and it doesn't depend on any central, entity. But I've spilled off a lot of info in this video, but I want to talk about my motivation a little bit here, because I don't really want to stand outside a shitcoin casino all day and tell people, don't, you're going to lose money, because it's really, really thankless. It's a miserable job. I don't want to do it. People don't appreciate it either. I've had hours and hours on the phone of people saying, but it's got this feature, and this shitcoin I want to buy has got this feature, and it's going to be the next this, and meh, meh. I've heard it so many times, and I sit there. I've honestly spent hours and hours and hours doing it. And the best case scenario is they don't buy the shitcoin. It completely collapses at some point, and then if I run into them at some point and bring it up, they don't ever volunteer it, because they're usually a little bit embarrassed about it anyway. Either they didn't follow my advice and got wrecked and they're embarrassed, or they did follow my advice and they just kind of forgot about it. It's very, very thankless. But on the other hand, I can tell people about Bitcoin, how amazing Bitcoin is. They can they can achieve financial liberation. They can get outside of the entire financial incumbent system. And I like to downplay this point, but they will probably turn whatever money in terms of dollars, they will, 100x, 1000x, depending on how long they can hold for, and hopefully they never sell. That's a rewarding thing to do. It's showing people a better way. It's bringing people into a system of freedom and responsibility, a system where you're not constantly told what's good and bad and what purchases are okay and what purchases aren't. And you're given something that can store your value and therefore your time efficiently rather than have it slowly siphoned away from you through money printing and inflation. These are all fantastic things to learn, and you have to learn a lot of self-responsibility with it as well. You can't be forgetting passwords and using the same passwords, and you can't be not doing your due diligence, because if you're going to buy Bitcoin because it's going up in price a lot, but you don't do your research, you're just going to sell it again and panic when it drops because it's damn volatile. And if you're going to not do your research with the shitcoins, you're going to realize if you're not going to learn what it is that makes Bitcoin special and unique, and you're going to throw your money into shitcoins, then you're going to get wrecked as well. And it's all because you didn't have what Bitcoin requires, which is the ability to actually do due diligence and learn how something works and approach a very, very steep and harsh learning curve. And I don't like to make this appeal to, I'll make an appeal to intelligence rather than authority. When Michael Saylor and Elon Musk and all of these billionaires are buying crypto, they're not buying crypto, they're buying Bitcoin. They don't ever go anywhere near any of the shitcoins. Unless you're Elon Musk and you can't stop making jokes about Dogecoin. But Dogecoin is a fun exception because it doesn't pretend to be anything more than a shitcoin. It's a bit of fun, and we all love it, and it's great fun, but it's not serious about something you can store millions of dollars of wealth in. It's not a serious project, and none of the other shitcoins are either. There's Bitcoin and there's shitcoin. In the words of that senator or congressman that was talking to Meltdown Demiroz, there's Bitcoin and there's shitcoin. That's it. There aren't any exceptions to that. There's experiments going on and there's interesting stuff, but ultimately, the one characteristic the world really, really needed that's going to change everything is decentralized sound money that is censorship resistant and unconfiscatable. And that's what Bitcoin is. And that's what Bitcoin is in a recurring positive feedback loop. And it swallows up all the energy in the space that lends itself to those characteristics. So that means everyone else is fighting over scraps that are essentially just, what can we market? We can market feature richness like Binance Coin and, Polkadot and all this absolute bullshit. All they're offering is, we can do this, we can do that. Yes, but you can't do any of it in a decentralized fashion. So the minute someone says, stop doing this and stop doing that, you will stop doing it because you don't have the nodes. If, try and speak Kurdish is difficult because everywhere the Kurds go, they get shut down. You cannot have a Kurd, if you're in Turkey, I think it's Turkey, if you try and publish a newspaper in Kurdish, you get arrested. Whoever the publisher is, it gets arrested. If you try and write a book, or if you try and speak Arabic in the Uyghur region in Western China, you'll get thrown in a concentration camp. The problem here is that these are not established, that's not a great example, so I might have to take that back. But the point is, no one's going to be able to stop you speaking English. No one can stop English because there's just too many people that speak it. There's a safety that comes with a certain size in a network. And this is why I say Bitcoin's not a gamble anymore. And it was once. Because at the beginning, we didn't have a lot of nodes and we didn't have a high hash rate. Hash rate went up and up and up, and that's the main security element that people focus on because they can kind of understand it, even though to most of the people that are watching this video, even that will be kind of beyond you. But having a high hash rate is great because it means if you want to attack Bitcoin as a miner, it becomes more difficult, and your incentive, given the value of the token, is if you can mine and you can attack, if you decide not to attack and you decide to play ball with the Bitcoin network, then you can make a lot of money. So the incentives are not just benevolent or appeals to benevolence. The incentives are, please mine honestly, and here's a lot of money if you do. People tend to go, well, am I going to attack and fail, or am I going to not attack and get rich? That's very, very trustworthy incentive structure. I forget my original point here. But yes, that part is there. People can focus on that all they want, but it's not the be-all and end-all. Because as I've explained in my Fork Wars video, when miners line up and try to impose changes on the Bitcoin network, they find out very quickly that the nodes are the boss, not the miners. Which means it's like all the manufacturers of dictionaries and politicians all line up and say, we're changing the word sky to mean the word, tree. So when you see that blue thing above your head everywhere, that's now called a tree. Good luck doing that when there are billions of people that speak English already, and they already think, no, that thing's called a sky, not a tree. And we're not just going to change because you're telling us to change. And, I mean, I don't want to get political too much, maybe just a quick little aside here. Political correctness is all about language policing and all about telling people what words they can use and what words they can't use. And it's notoriously dirty, and it's a lot of effort, and it takes years and years to do it and to change language, and and even then people can resist it anytime they want. Oh, you're not supposed to use that word, you're not supposed to use it if you like. It's going to be very difficult for people to stop you. If your communication is happening over centralized platforms like Twitter and Facebook, yeah, you'll get kicked off those platforms, but they still can't stop you saying it. So Bitcoin has it just has an architecture that makes it's been designed from the ground up to resist government interference and hostile takeovers and changes by small groups of people. It just can't be done. And what happens disingenuously with the shitcoiners is they'll tell you, oh, Bitcoin's stuck. It's old technology and it can't move. And I'm like, exactly. That means when one of you comes along with one of your great ideas to say, let's have more Bitcoin in the network, there aren't enough. Let's devalue everyone's savings the way you're used to being done with your dollars. No one's going to agree to it. And if you want to make a change, and you need them to agree, otherwise the network doesn't change. And more importantly, you need a lot of them to agree. And in Bitcoin's case, if you wanted to inflate it, you need everyone in the network, everyone running nodes, to simultaneously agree to devalue their own savings. Not going to happen. No one's going to agree to that, let alone everyone. So, whereas Ethereum has a fucking monetary policy. That's politician speak. Bitcoin doesn't have a monetary policy. It has some rules that were set in stone at the beginning. They could have been changed for a little while because of how few nodes there were and how low the hash rate was. But now you have such a giant towering amount of hash rate and node count then that's just not possible anymore. No one can come along and impose changes on Bitcoin. So those rules are not going to change on you. There's no political element. There are, I don't want to be too unnuanced about it. And some people are going to, when you get into the deep nuances of it, there are political elements in Bitcoin and stuff, but that comes with upgrades, and that's actually kind of a feature rather than a bug. But when it comes to Ethereum, you've got Ethereum 2.0 coming out soon. With all of this dictated by Vitalik. It's one guy. So it's like everyone thinking, we're free from the tyranny of centralized publishing houses. Before, everything you knew had to come from a TV channel or, a newspaper, like a big respectable newspaper, or, and we know they're lying to us and this sucks. And then the internet comes around and it's decentralized finally. We get all our news from... Wait a minute, Facebook and Twitter? Hold on, this is just centralized again. It's just we've moved it from big media publications to social media publications, which are still centralized platforms. So, wait a minute, nothing actually fucking changed, which means, if there's some information that goes against the grain with regard to COVID and the efficacy of masks and stuff like that, whatever that is, apologies, phone rang. You realize, hold on, we're in the same bloody system again. We need actual decentralization, which is on the internet, but it's not on the big websites on the internet, not on the big social media platforms. So moving away from centralized financial planning that comes from politicians and all these all these awful things that we've wanted to do away with forever, and we understand not everyone understands, but it would be great if finance was decentralized and all this stuff. But when you walk away from that and you walk into a system like Ethereum, you're just replacing the old boss with the new boss. That's all you're doing. You're not getting rid of bosses. It's a very different thing. In Bitcoin, no one's the boss. No one's in charge of the system. In Ethereum, your new boss is a guy called Vitalik Buterin, who's an absolute... phone call and my video stopped recording for some reason. My point here is you're replacing the old boss with a new boss rather than getting rid of bosses, which is mind-numbingly annoying, but maybe you don't realize you have a boss, and you don't realize you want to get rid of that boss. If that's the case, that becomes a very difficult thing for me to get into. And there's another couple of things I'd like to say regarding Ethereum and the stupidity of it all, which is, like I've already explained, Bitcoin is a network and a token that's designed to be deflationary and a good store of value, and you can, there's nothing else really where if you were going to go and freeze your body for 50 years at your death and come back to life, there's nothing else you'd put your money into apart from Bitcoin to think this might actually still have some value when I come out of this cryogenic chamber. Bitcoin's the only reliable store of value that's ever existed for our species. It was designed to be so, and it is so. And it obviously is. Whereas Ethereum never even made the claim to be that. The native token that runs on the network is called Ether. What it is it's a smart contracting platform. And what my analogy for that is that I've done in other videos, it's like it comes back to like medium of exchange is utility. And Ether is a utility token, and great, like it's useful, but it's not useful as a store of value. It's useful as a medium of exchange. So you don't invest in mediums of exchange ever. That's like investing in Mexican pesos or euros or something like that. That's not an investment. That's something that will be useful as a medium of exchange, but everyone everywhere knows that is not how you store your value. You buy real estate or precious metals or stocks or whatever the fuck you need to buy to get out of government currency, because they are not useful outside of being a very useful medium of exchange. So Bitcoin Cash and all these scam versions of Bitcoin and Ether and every other thing in the crypto space, they are functional. They are utility tokens, which means you don't use them as stores of value. That's just retarded. You don't use them that way. Ether is the prime example of that, because there are smart contracting platforms that run on top of the Ethereum network. If you want to use those platforms and you need Ether to use them, you buy the Ether as and when you need to use those platforms. You don't buy it as a store of value, because that's retarded. That's not what the thing was even designed for. So in my opinion, Ethereum's a scam. It's completely broken. But even if I completely extend the olive branch and say, fair enough, they do everything they claim to do, they still don't claim to be a store of value. They claim that to be a network, a smart contracting network that has a native token on the platform that is ostensibly, apparently decentralized, even though we know it's not. And, anything you hold on there cannot be taken from you, even though it can be, and yada, yada, yada. Even if we take it at face value and agree with everything Vitalik claims, it's still retarded as an actual store of value or an investment. And you might as well just YOLO into random stocks and shares or precious metals, because anything is better than holding government currency. All right, fair enough. That's where Bitcoin and the cryptos actually have some common ground. But what annoys me about this, and why, to round off this whole video, why I have to make things like this, is because, no, I'm not going to stand outside a casino and tell you not to go in there and gamble. I'm not going to do that, because it's not rewarding, and maybe it's fun for you to actually go in there, and it's just not how I want to spend my time. I want to spend my time talking about what's good. And what really annoys me about the shitcoin space is that you are so close to complete financial self-sovereignty, to the freedom that is on offer here, the liberty. It's remarkable, and it's something we've been waiting for our entire lives. For anyone that's got any moral backbone knows that what's wrong with the world is not money. It's the money we use. It's the way it's been set up. It's the way that society has been designed as a kind of predatory treadmill that and money is funneled into the wrong areas, and it's stolen from you, because ultimately money isn't stolen from you, but value is, because of the money you use. That's the point. So you work hard, you earn $100, you earn something that is capable of buying $100 worth of goods and services. And if you keep it as that $100 in dollars, you know that at the end of the year, it's only going to be $98 or $97 worth of purchasing power. But I mean, it's going to still say 100. In fact, it'll say $100.01 because you'll have been very generously given some interest. This is garbage. It's a garbage system, and the ramifications of running an economy like this are so enormous that it becomes the ability to wage war is a direct result and an offshoot of the fact that governments can control populations by choosing what interest rates are, choosing when and when to print money, how much money to print, and where the printed money goes. All of these things give a government absurd amounts of control to do all the immoral, evil shit they do. And when you separate money and state, like Bitcoin does, you fix basically all the world's problems. And that sounds ridiculous, and we have a section on our podcast called Bitcoin Doesn't Fix This, because us Bitcoiners are ridiculous and we think Bitcoin fixes everything. And it's hard finding things it doesn't fix. I mean, but nonetheless, I can say confidently that it fixes almost everything. Almost all of the immoral power structures can only operate the way they do because of the way the money works in the cultures we live in. And Bitcoin stops all that. And it's fantastic. And it has all these wonderful characteristics that are just, people assume translate onto anything else, any other database that chooses to be run as a blockchain or any other network that has a blockchain. And it's so frustrating because it does not translate and it does not transfer, I should say. And I wish more people understood this. And I'm sorry if there's just too much to handle in this video. But another thing that Bitcoin rewards is personal responsibility and doing a lot of research and having conviction and in what you believe and what you've done. And if you're going to get shaken out by these unscrupulous marketers for Ethereum, and I mean, I'm disgusted with what I'm seeing. I'm a guy that's been in the space for 10 years, and I know what Bitcoin is, and I realize how much of a noob I am and how much I have to learn. And I see everyone I see these fucking people on Instagram and Twitter and stuff. Like, I'm not on Instagram or Facebook or any of this bullshit, but my girlfriend is, and she'll show me what these crypto influencers are. They've been in the space for 2 months, and they got plain emojis and, dollar bill emojis and like crypto professional advisor, all this stuff. They don't have a fucking clue what they're talking about. And all they do is shill scam coins. And all they ever do is they find low liquidity, low market cap shitcoins that they can pump when they get enough of a following that they can make a decent amount of money return for themselves. And they choose deliberately obscure shitcoins because those ones, if they have 1,000 followers, if they have, a few thousand followers and enough of them buy the coin, they can force the price up a lot because it's so illiquid. And then you can make a ton of money as an influencer. Job done, bang. There's no glory, there's no morality, and there's no integrity in that space. The whole thing is just pump and dumps and theft and taking advantage of noobishness and, let's have a well-diversified portfolio of cryptos. There's even services, even respectable top-level exchanges like Coinbase are saying, here, don't even think about it. Just give us $100 a month and we'll buy a basket of the top 5 cryptos. I fucking hate this false equivalence. Bitcoin is its own thing. It's the internet of money. It's not a website that runs on a network. It's the internet, and you only have one internet. You don't need a bunch of internets all competing. That's not how it works. You have the internet, then you have a bunch of crap networks that are run with 3 computers that have slightly more sophisticated protocols between them, but they don't offer what the internet does, which is someone uploaded a picture the government doesn't like. They tried to remove it. Now that picture's everywhere. That's the internet. That's what Bitcoin is. However, what Ethereum is Ethereum did something the government doesn't like, so they're going to shut down Ethereum. The reason the government doesn't shut down Ethereum is a mystery to me, because it's decentralized enough to resist that for the time being, but it doesn't do anything controversial either. Ethereum is just, I don't even want to get into it, but it doesn't. For me, it really is Jesus and Satan. They are polar opposites, and they are deliberate. Like, Satan is deliberately trying to make you think that he is the same thing. In fact, he's better. He's better. It's the oldest archetype in the book. Doesn't matter whether you're religious or not. It's just an archetype. Like, when evil comes, it will masquerade as, something that you might really, really desire. And it's not going to come as something that looks awful. It's going to come as something that looks wonderful. Like socialism, for example. Like fairness, equality for everyone. Everyone's got food, no poverty, healthcare for everyone. Who could argue, right? But why does it always turn out so bad? Why does everyone get killed every single fucking time? It's because it looks good on paper, but it isn't good in reality. And that's what all the cryptos are. Again, it's the same archetype. Bitcoin, everything about it is clunky and annoying and slow and it has to be, because that's how you get this magical, invisible quality of it's decentralized. No one controls this thing. Beautiful. And it's not those qualities. I mean, even if Bitcoin didn't exist, you wouldn't be able to. It wouldn't, and there was suddenly market, like a niche, an opening in the market for a decentralized network again. You still couldn't. What word am I looking for? You couldn't pivot to that as the Ethereum network. You couldn't do it because the way it's been designed from the ground up is one where you cannot ever get away from centralization because it's too resource intensive, and you can't run nodes on Ethereum, and not easily. You have to run basically your own data center, or you need some pretty sophisticated servers to do it in a practical way. And good fucking luck, man. I mean, the Ethereum network, I heard Peter Todd say it's a miracle this thing even works at all. Bitcoin's not a miracle. I mean, it was at the beginning, how it flew under the radar and didn't get attacked for long enough for it to, grow big and strong and develop a kind of digital immune system. And now Bitcoin is anything, and now it's the black hole of everything. Now anything you throw at Bitcoin just makes it stronger and larger. So I hope, like, governments making it illegal is great now. Like, this is what was always afraid. We were always afraid of it. But look, we have endless examples. Pakistan made it illegal, and now they mine Bitcoin on a state level. And Nigeria made Bitcoin illegal a month ago, and now Bitcoin is trading 30% above the usual rate in Nigeria, because that's what happens when you make something illegal. It doesn't go away, but it gets more expensive to deal with it. So thank you. Bring it on. Make Bitcoin illegal all you want. Make everyone get their coins off exchanges into private custodial ownership. Non-custodial ownership, I should say. They should be their own custodians of their own coins. Then we have a completely disconnected parallel economy that's way better than the traditional economy. It doesn't steal from you. It doesn't shut down on the weekends. It doesn't change monetary policy on you. It doesn't inflate your time and wealth away from you. It can't be coerced from you. You can't be stopped at the border with it because no one knows you have it necessarily. It can't ever be proved you own any. There's no system of identity within it. There is just every single possible perfect attribute inside Bitcoin. This doesn't exist with anything else. And you should see, like, I finish with an appeal to authority again. And sometimes it's legitimate to do so because some people are clever and some people have done their research. And the billionaires never fucking buy Ethereum. If you want to buy Ethereum and you want to start texting me these fucking messages saying, I spent 6 hours one day explaining Bitcoin to you because I'm passionate about it, and I will. And then, explain everything I've just explained in this video. And then you want to send me a message saying, but what about Ethereum? If you want to do that, I want you to just say, why didn't Elon Musk do that? Why did Elon Musk buy $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin and nothing else? Is it because when you have $1.5 billion worth of money, you actually do some research before you spend stuff? Whereas when you've got, a couple of grand or something and you want to throw money at cryptos, you think, okay, I'll buy my diverse portfolio. I'll get, Cardano and XRP and Dogecoin and Ethereum Classic, fuck it, and some Bitcoin Cash. And okay, go ahead, do it. But it's so frustrating for me when you do, because ultimately I take it I had a friend be like, are we still going to be friends if I buy Ethereum? I'm just like, yeah, of course we're going to still be friends, but it does make me have to constantly reevaluate whether I'm able to explain this stuff properly, because it is hard to explain. But like, just know that it's like this. Like, you're telling me you're an 8-year-old and you're asking me, I want a new car. What about this car with 500 tires on it, and that takes 3 different forms of fuel? There's 6 engines in it, and you have to put diesel in this side and unleaded in that side, and LPG in this side, or whatever it's called, and it's also got a battery that turns the steering wheel. And I'm just like, okay, hi, 8-year-old. That's not how a car would work. It's not safe. You shouldn't use it. And I really, really don't like the salesman that's telling you it's a better car than the kind of cars that people are driving safely. They're a very immoral and unscrupulous person, and fuck that person, and they are putting people's wealth in danger in this case when it comes to cryptos. Stop listening to scam artists, because the rule is it takes 10 times the amount of effort to refute bullshit than it does to create it. And there's just so much fucking bullshit in this space with crypto this, crypto that. Crypto is a scam industry. It's a gambling machine. It's a casino, and everyone is in it to make money. Exchanges push shitcoins on you, because every time you do a trade from Bitcoin to shitcoin to next shitcoin back to Bitcoin again, maybe back to dollars, whatever. Every time you make a trade, they get commission. So they are shitcoin salesmen. Coinbase is the biggest salesman of shitcoin around. That's why they wouldn't say the word Bitcoin for 3 fucking years. Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, the biggest Bitcoin exchange in the world, he refused to say the word Bitcoin for years, because he was like, it's bigger than this. Crypto, decentralize all the things. It's not just going to be Bitcoin. And he used to, and eventually he had to, eat his fucking word. I mean, that guy is beneath contempt. But, it's the hand that fed you. Coinbase is, if it wasn't for Bitcoin, you wouldn't exist as a company. And Bitcoin will outlive all of these shitcoins you're pumping to noobs. And have some respect and have some integrity. And I'm just saying, these people don't. Even the high up billionaire CEOs in the crypto industry, even Arthur Hayes, I like the guy. He runs an amazing service. He's very resistant to authority, but he runs a crypto casino. Fuck all this stuff. Get out of shitcoins. Everything's a shitcoin. Modern art's a shitcoin. Gold is a shitcoin. Dollars are a shitcoin. Everything's a shitcoin except Bitcoin. Bitcoin has finally given humanity sound money, and that means buy it. Wait a couple of years, ride out a dip if you get unlucky. All-time highs will return. The dollar will return to its natural value of 0. Precious metals will return to having the utility they have for industrial applications. They won't be used as a store of value anymore. Stocks and shares and real estate, the fact that these things are way too expensive because no one's been able to find anywhere else to put their money for so long, that is now exposed. So those are not safe places to put your money. Andreas said it. Bitcoin is not a bubble. Bitcoin is the pin that is bursting the bubble that everything else is in, which is real estate, stocks, shares, precious metals, all of this garbage. All of it serves utility. None of it has a function as a store of value. That's what Bitcoin is, a store of value. So if you've got kids, if you've got more money than you need to buy the food and shelter that you need right now, I hope you're stacking, because it's only going to get more expensive. And whether you like it or not, the world is going to be, the economy that runs, the Bitcoin economy is going to dominate the old school economy. And you're going to be in it whether you like it or not. Don't let these fucking scam artists distract you from reality, which is we have something now that works, and something that we've needed for a long time, and you might not realize we needed it, but we needed Bitcoin. Humanity needed Bitcoin, and here it is.